Siri, so welcome to the school.
I think they're right.
You're right.
You can welcome to the school, and then you say what you said upstairs.
Okay.
How excited you are on the first day?
So I say welcome, Premier and Minister.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Come in tighter, guys. That's it. Stay on the other side. That's all right. Yeah, that's all right.
Okay, Isabella's going to kick us off. Go.
Welcome, Premier and Ministers. I'm really excited to come back to Ultimo Public School because of the lovely students and the staff. I also am really excited to be back in this amazing building. Thank you.
Well done.
Well done, Isabella. Thank you.
You're a star.
Well done, Dom.
Now you guys, you can see here. Now who knows how to control this thing? So, well, that's Neil. So,
Did well.
well done. Great job, Isabella.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's sweet. Well, can I thank Isabella, Patrick and Evan for welcoming us to Ultimo Public School. And today I'm joined by Dr. Kerry Chant, our Public Health Officer, Brad Hazzard, the Health Minister, and Sarah Mitchell, the Education Minister, for what is an incredibly important day for our state, an exciting day, as we saw from Isabella, from our young children here right across New South Wales. And I want to particularly thank our teachers who have done an amazing job over the course of the last few weeks in getting our schools ready to open day one, term one. I know that many parents are anxious. I know that many parents are also excited to have their kids back in the classroom, but this is incredibly important as we move through 2022, as we move back to normal, that we have our students back at school. We know that many children have lost a quarter of their time in face-to-face learning over the last 2 years as a result of the pandemic. But there could be nothing more important, not just for our students' educational outcomes, for social outcomes, for mental health outcomes, for kids to be back in school. I want to thank Sarah Mitchell, the Education Minister, the Department of Education, for the massive operation that has been undergone here in our state to achieve this outcome today. We set out to ensure that we had kids and teachers back at school in a safe learning environment. The rapid antigen tests, which as a parent I know are incredibly painful to administer to our children, but it's important. Isabella, Patrick and Evan didn't enjoy it too much either, but ultimately it's not just our parents and teachers and everyone right across the state who's made efforts and sacrifices, it's our kids too. And let's not forget, we focus each day on the health issues. But as we move through this pandemic, we'll always look back and have to think about what did we do to ensure we kept our kids learning, ensured their long-term outcomes from an educational and mental health perspective were looked after. And the best thing we can do as a government, the best thing we can do as a state is to make sure our kids are back in the classroom, back with their friends again, back doing what they love doing and learning in the classroom with the wonderful teachers we have right across the state. Particularly want to thank our teachers because I know many are nervous today as well. But I really want to thank you on behalf of everyone across our state for what you've done in coming back to school. Because teaching, there's nothing more important than teaching our children. Our children are our future. And we always have an obligation as a government, as a state, as a people, to make sure we set up our state for success and that our young kids have the best opportunities and have better lives than we do. And it's so important that we have kids back in the classroom. So I particularly want to thank the teachers. I know, as we've set out to achieve this goal of having kids back in the classroom on the first day, I know that there will be bumps along the way, that it won't all be smooth sailing. I accept that, but the alternative is to have schools closed, and that is not the outcome we want. It's not the outcome that's best for our kids. So can I thank our teachers? Can I thank the Department of Education and Health, because it's been a substantial team effort here from everyone across the board. I want to thank our kids for rocking up on day one. They're excited, and I know it's going to be a great school year despite the challenges that we have, and it also provides perspective as we move through this period of time of what's most important. And there can be nothing more important than having our kids back in the classroom and looking after them during this period of time. I also want to make the announcement today, which the Health Minister will speak to in relation to bringing back non-urgent elective surgery from Monday. This is ahead of time from what we expected. We've invested heavily in our health system here in our state. I've said it from the outset. During a pandemic, governments who have invested in their health system in the years leading in are the ones who have better results. And in the last 10 years of being in government, we've invested record amounts in our health system from the city to the bush. We've increased our capacity right across the board. From the outset of this pandemic, we invested an additional $4 billion in our health system. Because if we needed it, we wanted to be there to provide the care, the love and the support for people during this pandemic. That's exactly what we've done. I want to thank the Health Minister for the work over the last 2 years, because this has put us in a very strong position here in our state as non-urgent elective surgery has been suspended across the country. To be in a position, when we made that decision last year, we thought, based on our expectations, we could bring that back in mid-February. We've been able to bring that forward, and that's incredibly important. Can I thank everybody who has had to wait for their non-urgent elective surgery for their patience, because it is difficult. We are in a pandemic. We've had to make some tough decisions over the course of the last 2 years. We've had to make some tough decisions during this period of time, but every decision we make is focused on one thing, and that's keeping you safe and keeping people across our state safe. So being able to bring that back early, I think, is a testament to the strength of our health system here in our state. It is under pressure. We are in a pandemic. Every health system around the world is under pressure, but we have the most amazing frontline health staff who are doing an incredibly important job day in, day out to care for people during this difficult time. I want to thank them. I want to thank our health teams in our state who have been able to ensure that we're able to bring back that non-urgent elective surgery ahead of time, ahead of schedule, and that's incredibly important, giving people the support they need during this pandemic. Final point I'll make is boosters. We say at every press conference, I ask the media again to push this out tonight. We need people to get boosted. It has been vaccination. Our success in New South Wales is not on the government. Our success is because of our people and the efforts and the sacrifices that people have made over 2 years have kept us safe, have ensured that we can open our economy. There have been economic challenges, there have been health challenges. That is the fact when you're in a pandemic. But the efforts that people have made, particularly over the last 6 months in going out and getting vaccinated, has ensured that we can open up safely. But key to that now, as we've said in every press conference, is booster shots. The evidence is clear, not just in New South Wales, the evidence is clear around the country and around the world. Boosters work. Boosters keep you, your family and your friends safe. We have substantial capacity in our system here in New South Wales, substantial capacity to administer those booster shots. Last week, we had around 100,000 appointments we could have done if people came forward. So can I say today to everybody right across our state, if it has been 3 months since your second dose vaccination, please go and get boosted. If you've had COVID and it's been between 4 and 6 weeks since you've had COVID, go and get your booster shot. It's time. I know we've asked a lot, and I know probably people are sick of governments delivering the same messages time and time again, but it's these efforts that we continue to make that keep us safe. So it's one last push, it's one last effort, and can I ask everybody across New South Wales, through our 40 hubs, right across the state, through your pharmacist and your GP, please get boosted. That has been our key. If you look at the hospitalisations, if you look at ICU rates, if you look at death rates right around the world, what sets Australia apart has been that vaccination effort. We need to continue it, and can I ask everybody today to continue that effort? And if you do so, it'll ensure that we can continue to open up, continue to get back to normal, and we've been able to do that, and we'll continue to be able to do that because of the efforts that everyone across our state continues to make. I'm now going to ask Kerry Chant to give a public health update. Brad Hazzard will probably reiterate some of those points in relation to non-urgent elective surgery and booster shots. And Sarah Mitchell will talk about how great it is that kids are back at school.
Thank you, Premier. So currently we have 2,749 people in hospital, including 183 people in ICU, of whom 70 are ventilated. We have had our vaccination rates continue to climb, and that's pleasing, but I would love that pace to pick up. As the Premier has indicated, we have got capacity in our centres, and it is important we get that booster dose. We've got over 95% of people aged 16 plus have had one dose, 94% have had two doses. Our 12 to 15-year-olds are at 83.2% for their first dose, 83.2% for their first dose and 78.5% for two doses. We've got 39% of children who have had their first dose of the COVID vaccine in the 5 to 11-year-old age group. And we've got 44.7% of our eligible population who are eligible for a booster boosted, so that's a great achievement, but again I'd love to see that number climb rapidly. In terms of positive test results, we've got 12,818 positive test results, including 7,913 positive rapid antigen tests and 4,905 positive PCR tests. Those PCR tests, those around 5,000 positive PCR tests, were from around 36,000 PCR tests. In terms, sadly, today we're announcing the deaths of 30 people, 21 men and 9 women. Of the 30 people who died, 1 was in their 30s, 1 was in their 50s, 5 were in their 70s, 19 were in their 80s, and 4 were in their 90s. And can I express my condolences to their families for their loss. 5 of the people who died had received 3 doses of the COVID vaccine, 19 people had received 2 doses, and 6 were not vaccinated. The 2 people under the age of 65, a man in his 30s had received 2 doses of COVID vaccine and had no significant underlying health conditions, again highlighting the importance of boosters to really lift that protection. And the woman in her 50s was not vaccinated and had underlying health conditions. Thank you.
I'd like to start by just thanking Olivia Parry and all the staff here at Ultimo Public School for all the amazing work you do with children as an ex-teacher. I just got to say I value everything you do, and I'm sure the government more broadly does, so thank you for everything you've done. And to Isabella, great speech, well done. Patrick, Evan, thank you very much. And we've got a new school leader who's just arrived as well. Thank you guys for your leadership here at the school. Look, can I just say, being in a primary school reminds us that we need to get all of our youngsters vaccinated. And certainly in the age bracket 15 and above, we have around about 80%. But in the younger age brackets, the primary school age brackets of 5 to 11, we're just shy of 40%. So 5 to 11-year-olds had their first dose, just shy of 40%. Can I just say to mums and dads, it's a reminder when we come back to school, as all the youngsters have done today, that it's worthwhile making an appointment and getting your son or daughter vaccinated as soon as possible. Of course, 2 doses are preferable, but 1 dose is a good start. So again, to all the parents, I'm sure you're delighted to have your children back at school. The kids are delighted to be back at school, but make sure they get vaccinated as well as quickly as possible. Boosters. Boosters really do give us bang for our buck when it comes to outcomes in terms of stopping the serious illness, stopping the possibility of, or at least reducing the possibility of death, and certainly reducing the possibility of transmission. So to everybody, can I say across New South Wales, please go and get your booster. It really is critical that the booster shot be obtained as quickly as possible. We want to have our lives back. We want to have a life that was pre the pandemic. Well, we can have a life that's very similar if we get the booster shot. So go and get the booster shot. Finally, I just want to say this, that I want to thank all of the health workers across New South Wales again. What has kept us safe during this 1 in 100 year pandemic is the health workers. And they have, it doesn't matter if it's the cleaners, the doctors, the nurses, whoever it is, the administrative staff, thank you. And actually I should add one final issue, and that is, obviously we've had 2 periods now in this last 2 years where non-urgent elective surgery has had to be wound back. One was obviously earlier in the pandemic where the federal government gave directions to all of the states that we should do so. And of course, more recently, on the 10th of January, we gave similar advice to our health system here in New South Wales. That was because we needed to make sure that we had space available if the COVID numbers rose beyond what we were hoping they would level out at. Fortunately, we have seen the numbers of COVID patients going into our hospital not get anywhere near, in fact, what we thought might be the best case scenario. Now, that decision to wind back or suspend some of the non-urgent elective surgery was made on the 10th of January. I'm delighted that less than a month later, 7th of February, we're able to now move back into a staged transition of having non-urgent elective surgery come back on board. Again, as Health Minister, I'm sorry that some people have obviously had to have their surgery delayed, but it was in your interests. It was in the interest of the entire community that we make sure that we had the space available in our hospitals. As we stage it, there will be various hospitals in the regions that will start on the 7th. Others will progressively come on board doing the Category 2 and Category 3. We never stopped, of course, Category 1 or the urgent surgery. But in the metropolitan area, it might be a little longer, but clearly our desire is to move as quickly as possible in the metropolitan area as well to bring back the full range of non-urgent elective surgery. And that will depend entirely on just keeping those numbers down, and that depends entirely on us all going and get a booster. So please go and get the booster so we can make sure that we hold the numbers down and we can get back to some degree of normality in our hospital system. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's a really big day for almost 1 million families right across New South Wales as we see our students return to school to start the 2022 school year. As we speak, lunchboxes are being packed, uniforms are being put on, and this year rapid antigen tests are also taking place in hundreds of thousands of homes right across New South Wales. So I do want to begin by thanking our parents, our carers and our families for everything that they've done to support their children to return to school this year. We know we're asking a lot of you. We know we've got an additional thing that we're adding to the morning routine, which can be busy enough as it is, but we know it's really important to keep your children safe. And I've had such overwhelmingly positive feedback, not just from parents, but also from our teachers and principals in terms of the take-up of the rapid antigen tests, the intention to use them to keep not only their children safe, but also their classmates and their teachers. So thank you very much for that. Like the Premier, I also want to thank all of our school staff right across New South Wales. Here at Ultimo Public, obviously we're with Olivia Parry and her team, but at each and every school right across New South Wales, we have hard-working principals, school leadership teams, teachers, our school admin and support staff who do an amazing job, particularly in those first few weeks of school. Our GAs who do all the maintenance, keep our school grounds spick and span and ready for our students to enjoy. Every single one of our staff across every single one of our 2,200 schools, I know, has worked really hard to prepare everything for our students today. And I just want to say a very, very big thank you to all of you. And again, the extra measures that we've put in place to keep our school communities safe also mean that once again our school staff are going above and beyond, and we cannot be more grateful to them for everything that they do each and every day. Finally, I guess a message to our students, and obviously with our school leaders here at Ultimo. Isabella, I think you might have our job one day. I think you've done a pretty good job this morning. Thank you for everything that you guys have done. You know, it's a hard time living in the middle of a global pandemic, but we are all here to support you. And every single one of those people that I spoke about, your families, your teachers, your principals, we are all doing this to support you and your education. So good luck for the school year. It's an exciting time, first day, and we can't wait to see all the amazing things that you achieve in 2022.
Well, yesterday I spoke to the head of Department, Premier and Cabinet, and if there is any assistance, as I've said, that we can provide the federal government, we will. My understanding is that request has not been provided at this point in time, and our obviously areas of responsibility here in our state is to vaccinate and boost the majority of the population here in New South Wales, and we have capacity to do that. If there is an opportunity that we can provide assistance in aged care, we will. We have done that throughout the entire pandemic. It's not about, from my perspective, who's responsible for what. If there is a need, we will step up, as we always have done during this pandemic. There are obviously the logistical issues, which the Health Minister might provide some further information on, but ultimately we stand ready to help. And we have 40 centres across the state. Our responsibility every day is to ensure that people across New South Wales have access to a booster shot. A second responsibility is to continue to drive home the message that boosters work, they keep you, your friends and your family safe, so please go out and do it. Yep. We also have one of the highest vaccination rates in the country, which means that there are naturally more people who are eligible. Secondly, I think there's probably a number of reasons to it, but one reason would also be, as we've moved through having a population just like around the country who have COVID, we need to make it clear that if you had COVID, 4 to 6 weeks, you can get that booster shot. So we know people have made efforts across our state for 2 years. We've just got to keep those efforts going. That's what will keep us safe. And I just want to continue to ask everybody to continue to make that effort. Brad. Sorry. City public hospitals. Non-urgent elective surgery.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, look, obviously the team are working through that at the moment, and the city hospitals all have a licence to commence when they are in a position to do it. But each hospital each management is making, the management of each city hospital is making the decision as to when they're ready. But I would anticipate, if the numbers remain as they are, that would be in the very near future. Can I just say on the aged care issue too that our New South Wales public health team work literally every day talking to the Commonwealth. It's quite a close collegiate approach. And over the last couple of years there's been a lot of work done. I know earlier on there were more than 2 million pieces of PPE given to over 100 aged care facilities. I can remember hospital staff going into various aged care facilities to help. Obviously, primarily the responsibility of the federal government in terms of making sure there are surge staff, but we're in a pandemic, so sometimes the federal government and their teams have found it a little challenging. So quite simply we work together and we've put health staff in to assist. On occasions we've also transferred residents out of their homes and into the hospital. So it's going on all the time. It's not, I know the media are getting a bit excited about it at the moment, but the reality is it's been a very collegiate approach between both the federal government and the state government. There have been many occasions when we have provided those staff. As late as yesterday, I know the teams were working together to establish what some of the issues might have been in regard to a relatively small number of aged care facilities in New South Wales now that haven't had the Commonwealth vaccination teams in there, but they're progressing extremely well from what I'm advised by the state health teams. So I think at the moment we could say that people are actually doing on both the Commonwealth and the state side as much as they can. What I would say though from past experience, and this is to some of the families of aged care, people in aged care residences, I can remember aged care facilities where when we looked at the numbers of people in there, they had actually been offered vaccinations, but in some cases the individuals themselves or their family members had made decisions that they were not to be vaccinated. Can I just say that is an unfortunate decision, because clearly vaccinations and boosters are the key to making sure that people over the age of 65, people who are likely to have pre-existing medical conditions, are a lot safer. So strong message is go and get vaccinated. Sorry, there was something else there? No, good.
I'll make one comment. Just in addition to what the Health Minister said. We can get into the blame game here, but that's not what this is about. Whether it's the federal government, state governments, territory governments around the country, everyone is doing their very best to ensure that people have access to the vaccination and get boosted. By us saying that we're happy to help is exactly what we've been doing during the entire period of this pandemic. And if there is an opportunity to do that, as the Health Minister has said, we will. And we've done so in the past and will continue to do so, because what's most important is not playing politics in a pandemic. What's most important is providing the care and support for those who need it. That was John. Yeah. Well, I know that the Treasurer is working on something in this space at the moment, and I think that's incredibly important. We know that our frontline health staff have been inspirational, providing love, care and support to people over 2 years. It's been hard, it's been incredibly challenging on the front line, and every day they are working tirelessly to keep us safe. And whatever we can do to support that, we will. Because not only has it been a difficult 2 years, there could be challenging times, months and years ahead. We don't know what curveballs this pandemic will continue to throw at us. What I do know is we have the best health teams in the country, if not the world, keeping us safe every single day. Look, I've had conversations with both the Health Minister and the Treasurer in relation to this. The Treasurer's working on something. I don't want to give a running commentary on that. But I also make this point as well. Whether it's our health workers or any frontline workers across the state in the public service, our teachers who are going back, Olivia and the team here at Ultimo Public School, teachers right across the state who are going back are doing an amazing job. Everyone on the front line over the last 2 years has worked tirelessly to keep our society open, to keep people in jobs, to keep businesses open, to keep schools open, to keep our health system working well. We focus on the negativity way too much. A little bit of hope and inspiration for people, and I can tell you when I see our frontline workers every single day making an amazing effort, keeping people safe, educating our kids, and I want to welcome Kathleen, who's also rocked up this morning to welcome us as one of the school leaders as well. Our frontline workers have worked tirelessly for 2 years. They continue to do it, and that effort ensures we keep people safe, we keep businesses open, we keep people in work, and we keep our kids educated. Yeah. Well, it wasn't pleasant. It wasn't pleasant. My son William said, why can't I just use my finger? He apparently prefers that. But, look, these are, as I said, I want to thank parents because, look, it was a bit of an effort in our house with 4 going back to school. But we continue to ask of people, and people continue to deliver and make those efforts and sacrifices. Government we can't wish away the pandemic. We've got to deal with the pandemic that's here. And from time to time, more efforts need to be made to keep people safe. It's not just our parents and teachers who are making efforts. Our kids now have to make efforts to do this as well. It won't be forever. It's just important doing these tests so we can open up our schools in a safe way. I want to thank our parents, I want to thank our teachers and our wonderful children for the efforts you continue to make. And I wish you all the very best as you start Term 1, 2022. Thanks, everyone.
I want to put a photo with you and Isabella and the kids. Yeah.